Welcome back, you guys. Welcome back to Unbiased and Unbossed. I'm back here today with a video on Lizzo, and basically it's a critique on her inability to limit the influence of the outside communities that are not Black and that are not Black women on her, especially when it comes to the LGBTQ plus community. What I've been seeing a lot lately is when it comes to Black people, and a lot of times Black women, because we haven't centered ourselves in our plight, we've allowed other people to latch on to us and allow their politics, their issues to be merged into Black plight and allow them to benefit while influencing situations like Juneteenth that should be specifically for Black people with no other identifier or criteria. Juneteenth was created in celebration of the last slaves that were freed in Texas. So when we think about Juneteenth, what we should really be celebrating is the freedom of Black people, specifically those who are descendants of slaves in America. However, what it has come to be is commercialized and is being used for other groups, such as the LGBTQ plus community. How I would look at it is simply, if we're going to celebrate somebody's birthday party, which is, for an example, Jane Doe, we're celebrating Jane Doe. That doesn't mean that the other little kids, such as Becky's birthday, isn't important. It's just that on this day, we're celebrating Jane. However, even on Juneteenth, Black people are not allowed to center Blackness, which is what we should be doing. And unfortunately, Lizzo has decided that she would donate money from an organization that she received to a Black led trans organizations. I'm going to show you what they posted and then give you my thoughts. Ooh, I'm already struggling streaming. Where is the post? Okay, there you go, Lizzo. Now, they posted that back on May 18th. And just for clarification, the Elevate Prize Foundation, it's basically you donate, you select someone you want to receive the funds from a nonprofit organization, and then that person donates the money however they choose. So that video I just showed you was posted on May 18th. Today they made a decision of where the funds would be going, and then they posted it on their Instagram page.
Is that
Now, the problem with this is not that she wanted to give money to trans-led organizations. The problem is that she wanted to do it specifically with money that was supposed to be for Juneteenth. Understandably, there are people who are within the LGBT community who are Black. However, not all of us are within that community. Some of us actually have issues with the way that community, specifically more so the trans community, how that community is going about and how they're trying to take over women's rights, especially with Black women having to struggle with identity issues coming from other groups of women. Now we're having to struggle with our gender. With that said, I think getting money, taking money that should have just been dispersed amongst Black organizations with no specification on to, like ESSA, should it be specifically for Black men or Black women? I think that was the wrong way to go about this, just because if you're going to celebrate Juneteenth, then Juneteenth was specifically for descendants of slaves who ancestors were the last to be freed in Texas. So if we were going to do something with the money, then the money should have went to just that specification, Black. Sadly, this is not the first time that Lizzo has made decisions regarding Blackness, when it should stay focused on Blackness, but diversifying how she's going to go about that particular situation. We've seen this in the way that she promotes herself. We've seen this in the way that she carries herself in social media. It's very clear that with some Black women, and I think this has to do with the fact that because we're a minority within the minority, we're not taken serious unless we champion somebody else's plight. We tend to latch on to everybody else's plight and push their issue to the forefront while ignoring our own. And sadly, Lizzo is an example because she's a plus size Black woman who gets attacked everywhere. If you were to scroll through YouTube and put in Lizzo's name, you would see a lot of Black male alpha males who use her name in such a way that it is very derogatory. Lizzo size woman, what Lizzo eats, Lizzo's weight. Lizzo isn't being attacked because of her sexuality. Lizzo is being attacked because she's a Black big woman. A lot of the ways in which we're attacked, it's not because of our sexuality, it's because of we're either black or we're black and women. For black women, I think it's more so half and half. In fact, when you go over to the Daily Wire page, specifically with Ben Shapiro, he always has something to say about Lizzo.
What are you trying to tell us? Because you guys.
That's not the only time that he says something about her weight. Ben Shapiro in the Daily Wire, Candace Owens, Matt Walsh, I think even Michael Knowles, they have all made comments about her weight. And they attack her not just because of her weight, they attacked her because she's both black and a woman, and they know that she's easy prey. I think that Lizzo doesn't want to focus on being a black woman more so over other people's rights because she doesn't see it as a win for black women. But as black women, we should be focused on our issues, specifically those that are black and women, right? Black, and woman. Femicide in our community is very big. If we don't focus on those issues and we highlight everybody's issues over ours, we're basically saying that other people's issues are more important. They're more important, and that they should have priority over our own issues, even within our community. In the black community, LGBTQ plus issues are not the issues that we should be focused on. The issues we should be focused on should be centered around black women and black children. The issues that we're seeing right now that are very prevalent are income disparities amongst race and gender. We're seeing black femicide is very up there, as well as healthcare. We're also seeing a huge unemployment rate. LGBTQ plus issues should not be centered amongst black people, especially within on a day such as Juneteenth, when we're supposed to be celebrating blackness and blackness being freed in America. Instead of doing that, Lizzo has decided to focus on everybody else's issues but our own. And with that said, I can no longer be a fan of Lizzo. I'm struggle streaming, you guys. With that said, I think that there is a time in which we need to break away from other organizations and other groups and just center ourselves. What do you guys think? I'm looking at the comment section, but I don't see Oh, I got 42 comments. What hatred is about telling the truth? Something most of y'all is the black community are allergic to. I think that when it comes to LGBTQ rights, they have a plight, but it should not be centered amongst black women and black children in the black community. I think when you take something as far as LGBTQ plus issues that have become centered within the past 20 to 30 years and attach it to something that's been going on for the past 300, it it convolutes things, and and a lot of it is a lie, right? We weren't fighting for LGBTQ plus rights back then. Hell, we were barely fighting for black women's right. It was mainly about blackness and black people getting free. Let me stop sharing my screen. Are LGBTQA gonna protect black women? That's my question, KP Margot. I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. I think that we've seen that, we're pretty much on our own. How many of you guys see that black women are being centered in anything that's going on right now with these organizations or even on the news? The only time we get centered is when we're fighting for black men or black boys that have lost their lives at the hands of cops. Right? I just feel as though that as a group of women, we need to start really focusing on being black women. Sexuality has never been an issue for the most part for black people. That's never been centered and has never been highlighted as an issue. In fact, when you think about it, a lot of LGBTQ plus community people, they would come to the black community to have a space to be themselves. That's why they're so intertwined in our music scene. When you look at dance music, R&B, hip hop, they were listening to that and coming to areas where we were because they weren't receiving the kind of hate that they were in their own communities. What does that say about the black people? Like, we've always offered a safe space for these people. But why is it that when we want to center ourselves, specifically blackness, which is what Juneteenth is for, why is it that we can't do that without them incorporating themselves in our own issues? I think Lizzo was perfect. If she would have done that on every day except Juneteenth, that would have been fine. But I do believe that this was, a ploy to center LGBTQ plus within blackness, and that should not have been done, especially not on Juneteenth Day. I'm a black woman biologically, and I did my shadow work, meaning I heal my soul. First of all, black trans women are oracle of our community. We've been brainwashed to be against them due to the media. I'm not brainwashed against any of them. I think that it's fine to me, I don't care. That's why I was voted for them to have, back when Obama, I was in support of them having their rights. I believe that you should be able to date and marry whoever you want to. However, I don't believe that you should be allowed to influence the decisions of others, especially when they have said no. And what this has become is actually hate towards non-LGBT plus members. That's what I'm saying. What I'm seeing is the colonizing of blackness and black women, and that needs to stop. It has come out that white women over Tupac Mother's Trust has come out with a Tupac Pride clothing line. Yeah, we have no allies. I agree. We definitely don't have allies. I think what white people have seen and done, and I would call this the Rachel Dolezal effect. Basically, they come within black spaces. They try to mimic us to the extent of where they can try to colonize our aesthetics and say, hey, this is what makes me black. Have you noticed that what makes a person black is never having a black mother and a black father? It's always something outside of that. How they speak, how they talk, how they wear their hair. It's always something outside of what actually being black is. When I was growing up, the only thing that made you black was having a black mother and a black father. Now I listen to rap music, I'm black. I watch black movies, I'm black. I have a nickname that's common to black people, I'm black. Basically everything outside of having a black mother and a black father makes you black, and it's quite disgusting, and it's actually colonizing. Our identity has been colonized, and if your identity is colonized, then that means that anything that you don't do that they don't agree with, that means they can now say that you're a hate group, that you're disgusting, that you're actually hateful, and that they should be able to have hate crime bills against black people. And to be honest, if you look at the way they went about the Asian hate crime bill and saying black people are the reason, we are the reason that Asian people are even able to immigrate over to America. They are able to set up businesses in our country. When you take all of that into account, how is it that you go against the people who've been most helpful to you? And even during that time, even though there were a lot of black men who were attacking Asian people, a lot of those attacks happened by white people against Asian people, but they didn't highlight them crimes. They've only highlighted the ones that were black males and Asians. And yes, we do need to speak out about that and do something about that. However, as black women, with our black femicide rate being so high, what exactly can we do about it? A lot of these trans have become very disrespectful to biological womanhood. That allyship is nonsense, Karen. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I don't go over on Tariq's page much, but somebody shared a stream of him of where he had to, he was speaking about trans, saying that black women don't need their vaginas. So basically, we've had black women coming up missing. And with them coming up missing, how do we know that these women aren't being murdered and having their sexual reproductive organs taken out of them for that community? There is a lot going on within our community, and I see it's because we're so divided that we haven't been able to stand up and do something about it. And that needs to change because other groups are capitalizing off of our dysfunction, especially the LGBTQ plus community and the feminist community. I am for black women and I am for black people, but black women have to learn how to slowly separate themselves from feminism because white women don't have our back either. I think a lot of Lizzo supporters are actually supporters of Lizzo, but not supporters of black people or black women. And it's going to be very important for us to understand who has our back as a community versus who has our back as an individual, right? If they want to support you as an individual, go ahead, all for it, because I understand that. But you should not be standing up in front of your community saying that, hey, I got your back, when these people don't. There was literally a LGBTQ plus group that formed on Facebook back in 2020 during the rise of Black Lives Matter, when all that stuff with George Floyd happened. And they said, we don't believe in Black Lives Matter. And that group had almost 40,000 people in it. So LGBTQ plus are absolutely able to separate themselves from us, but we can't do it from them. I don't think that it's fair for me as a black woman who doesn't go out and speak about her sexuality for me to be condemned when other people are able to are not held to the same standard. How many of you are carrying around your sexuality as you are being a black woman? You typically don't know someone's sexuality unless they tell you. Have you ever heard a black trans woman saying these? I have never heard a black trans woman disrespect us. We disrespect them. Divine consciousness. I have. There was I caught one of Cynthia's panels. It was when she was on Fox Soul. And that person that she was on Fox Soul with, it was the time she was on there with Umar Johnson. I went and followed that individual, Hope Giselle, and they did a live in which they condemned Cynthia for saying that black men saying that people were giving her more smoke instead of Cynthia because she was born biologically a male. And she said, you should be upset with her because she said abort black male babies. And I was like, well, she only said that because of the black femicide rate and the way black men carried themselves in the black community. There are also a couple of things that she said, but because of YouTube censorship and this being my channel, I don't want to get my channel taken down because they have been taking down channels or striking them for misgendering or just saying something that an LGBTQ plus person doesn't like. But yes, I have absolutely heard people within that community say disrespectful things to black women. Specifically, one being that we don't need our reproductive organs because we don't know how to use our body correctly. If that's not disrespectful, then I don't know what is. Amari at XDM said, well, I haven't even thought about that. D. Davis, stop supporting Lizzo and the I'm glad I didn't support Lizzo. I'm about to go unfollow her after we are done. Male to female trans are not women. They are still men. And no, they have no place in biologically born women issues. I absolutely agree. Why are you in a black woman's issue? Black women have faced some of the harshest punishments. Our issues are piling up, and nobody is trying to save us. Nobody is helping us. Have you guys heard about that young lady who spoke to Josh Haley when she went to the Senate committee hearings, and she said that not including LGBTQ plus as, how did she say that? It invites harm by not affirming LGBTQ plus individuals. And I thought, well, why is it that we don't take that same mentality with black women? If I don't say that, hey, this harms you, you're going to go out and commit, you know what? Whereas black women have been dealing with this for centuries, and we are the least likely to commit suicide. So because we're least likely to do it, our lives are less important. And this was a black woman saying this. Black trans are ninjas in dresses. They can't sit at the table of true biological black women. They need to get their own groups. I agree. I think there's the best way I see this is that your identity is not supposed to be diverse and inclusive. If people want to create a group that centers themselves, I don't have a problem with you saying a trans woman, because that lets me know that you used to be a man. I have a problem with you saying I want to remove that trans part, because you and I are not the same, and you and I should not be in the same category. Lady T said, I saw that. Divine said, no, she disrespected her. I saw it. Stop it. I saw that live too. She just lost divine consciousness. She just be trans. No, if you saw Cynthia, she was miss in her first review of the panel. At Divine Girl, you're delusional. That's really what you think. I've heard plenty. Okay, as a whole black trans woman was calling black women and proud to sleep with black men behind black women's backs to the DL. Yeah, I've seen it as well. There are a lot of TikToks in which people have gone on to say, yeah, y'all just need to bow down to us, and y'all just upset because we take y'all man, we know more about them, right? So it's perfectly okay for you to be in competition. It's perfectly okay for you to disrespect me. But when I come back and combat you with true facts, which is biologically, I was born a woman and you were not, I'm supposed to, I get labeled as a hateful person. Where are the people who are going to stand up for me and have my back to say that, no, that's wrong. You shouldn't be trying to step into somebody else's identity. What we're having right now is an identity war. And I really believe that white supremacy is moving within that community. Not all the people I think are white supremacists, but I do believe that their agenda is aligning with white supremacy, meaning that they're going to still have this desire to put whiteness at the forefront while allowing black people, a few black people such as Lizzo, to be their scapegoat of, see, we couldn't possibly be racist because look, Lizzo is our friend and we have her back. Notice that they only have a certain few people that are black in which they promote and they subscribe to. Lizzo is one of them. And she does that because, they come to her concerts, they promote her, they love her. Why can't they just be your fans? Why do they have to be more than that? I think Lizzo, as well as some other celebrities, are going to have to learn how to be able to walk away from certain deals and certain money without compromising their identity. Because when you do that, you put us all at risk. A whole black trans, yep, I read. Hope Giselle is still a black male, not a biological born woman. Black males pretending to be black women have been all of YouTube talking about how much they do. I truly believe that the males who decide to transition are more misogynistic and sexist than those who don't. Because not only do they want to come over and try to compete with you, they also want to wield their masculinity that they still have over you. And we've seen that multiple times. I've seen a couple of fight videos of where they say they've transitioned, but they're fighting and hanging out with black women because they think that they can be the HBIC. And that's not going to happen with me. I think that we have to now start creating spaces for little black girls of where we tell them, hey, your identity protected. You are worth this. Like, build spaces for little black girls where they can show up and be them without having to try on somebody else's identity and be swayed to another team where, they didn't want to be there. But because, kids are precious, they can be easily manipulated. And sadly, we don't do a great job of protecting our kids from those who may want to compromise them. The black woman's identity is not protected. I'm not accepting black men in dresses trying to relate to my issue as a real black woman. Yeah, you shouldn't. Yes, I agree. Divine consciousness, you're okay, there is no identity war, sister. We just need to do the healing first before talking about the community. I said this for long. I have the same mentality until I heard my wound. What do you mean by that? Lizzo represents the image that they want to see in black women. I absolutely agree. I think the mammy image is the image that has always plagued black women. And that's the mammy, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to fit into white society. And however they want to utilize me, so that it is what it is. And unfortunately, that hinders us a lot. Because if black women are going to forge ahead and begin to center ourselves, that's what we need to do. The shadow work is so dark, it blinds you from telling the difference between a man and a woman. Excuse me. I can see a transgender woman's... Oh, wow. It seems like more about validation and acceptance with Lizzo. Yeah, to a certain extent, right? I think most of us go where we're accepted and where we're loved. And honestly, back in college, when I was starting out, that's what happened to me. The LGBTQ plus community, and this is back in 2004, was, hey, how's it going? What do you do? And before you know it, you're celebrating pride. You're saying, yeah, you should be able to do X, Y, and Z. And, I believe, like I said before, I still believe people should be able to date, marry, whoever they want to be. I don't believe that you should be able to colonize established identities. I will never believe that. You should not be able to colonize established identity. If you want to transition into something that you think is more fitting of you, go right ahead. But when you decide to drop that trans part, I have a problem with that. When you decide to argue with a biological woman about her own experiences in being a biological woman, I have a problem with that. And that problem is that you're trying to speak from a place that you've never had, you never lived in. Like, you're coming over to a space in which you think it's this based on your experience versus me having lived experience. And that's what LGBTQ plus people don't have. Well, trans people, you don't have lived experience as a woman. It seems like it's more, these black are, yeah, a lot of them are compromised. They do what, yeah, because, when the more I realize, the more I say this, the more I realize how of a bad position black people, specifically black women, are in. When you say that most white people have the bulk of the wealth, well, they're going to use their wealth how it best benefits them. And it doesn't benefit them helping the lower class who they can exploit and get more out of. When our womb is damaged in the mind, we don't see the truth for what it is. That's why we need to do shadow work. I think we need to do a lot of shadow and community work. I think black women need to go back and center ourselves amongst our community and amongst America, because I see that our identity is being colonized. We have a lot of mixed race people coming in from other countries, as well as a lot of them being made, particularly by black men in America. So when we look on television and look in magazines, most black women don't even see a reflection of themselves. They see a reflection of a white woman that made it with a black man. And a lot of these black men are actually, half of them are now starting out to be mixed race man who had a black father, and they're mixed. And now we're seeing that these quadroons who present as white people are claiming black too. So it's getting worse for black people and blackness, because we have yet to close off and define what black is. Black trans women will never take the place of 100%. I don't know. Think about this. If the LGBTQ plus community keeps aligning with black women with blackness, that's what they're going to do. Basically, they're attaching themselves to our community, which also means they're attaching themselves to our plight. And they're basically creating this subgroup that's going to take over our group, and we're going to get pushed back to the side, or we may not be included at all. Look at what they're doing. Look what Lizzo did. She took up funds, and she took a day that should have been the celebration of blackness. That's the only thing you're supposed to be celebrating this day, particularly American enslaved descendants who had ancestors freed on that day, that Juneteenth, and she centered the LGBTQ plus community. It didn't make sense. Why not center a variety of communities with one of them or two of them being within that community? It didn't make sense to just solely focus on that community, right? That was $250,000 split over 7 organizations, and all 7 organizations are going to be for the LGBTQ plus community. This is not about healing, male identify, pro-black. You are clearly the conversation is very much over your head. I hate that the trans women are calling us both cis women. Yeah, I'm not a cis woman, right? I don't even like when white women come up to me and call me cis, S-I-S. I'm not that. Call me by my name. You don't get they don't want to be misgendered, but will misname you. And birthing people like we can't misgender them because it's mean, but they can. But yeah, they're weaponizing their emotions over us. Whereas we can't even weaponize our experience over them. Think about that. I get to weaponize my emotions. Your emotions change from day to day, but you can't even tolerate my experiences with you and other people. I don't like being controlled like that. And that gets me so frustrated. Like when they say that by not affirming them, you invite violence. And it's like, well, who's that violence coming from? Oh, we're going to commit, you know what? Well, I didn't invite that violence. You doing that to yourself. Think about everything that our parents and our parents' parents have been through, and they don't commit, you know what? If that's the case, then white people have been inviting violence to us our entire lives. Okay, some of y'all are just arguing with each other, right? And they are purposely breeding themselves out. Absolutely. If you want to, like I said, date whoever you want to. But if I go out and I marry a white man and have a mixed child, I'm going to raise my child as mixed race. I'm not going to say, hey, you should be black, right? I understand that that child is going to have more of a black identity, but I'm gonna have to let them know, like, you may identify more with black, but you're mixed. Your identity is mixed, right? Because you came from a white father and a black mother. Let's not get it any more confused. It seems to me that black women who are expats living in foreign countries are better off. I'm preparing for my move. I have no place here in the U.S. I wish black women would not do this. Think about what our ancestors did. I think what has happened is that because black people haven't been able to maintain the black family, black values and black goals, we've been infiltrated, right, KP? We've been infiltrated, so our values are no longer aligned with blackness. Like with Lizzo, her values are now aligned with the LGBTQ plus whiteness, right? Black men are typically aligned with whiteness and white women, and black women are just going to align with whoever supports them, and that could be anybody, right? You got black women who are champion the Asians. You got black women champion white people like Lizzo. We're just divided, and unfortunately, until we start to center and focus on our own communities, which is what we should be doing, we're going to continue to be divided. Absolutely disgusting. Yep, I agree, Aaliyah. No, sister, no. Okay, let me educate y'all a little. LGBTQ was always a part of the matriarchy, meaning we always, as a black community, we never had labels. We were always free until patriarchy came. This is why y'all think this is free. I don't know about that, Divine. I think that our sexuality was never a problem for us. I don't think we've ever had a problem. We've always focused on black racism, and sexism has always been at the forefront for us because these were the issues that impacted us. Sexuality wasn't impactful to us. In fact, that's why you had other communities come within the black communities so that they could have space to be free. White society has invented the whole diversity, equity, inclusion. Yup. They have placed black people under that umbrella, and I don't agree like that. Black women and black people are under their own. I agree. If you notice, when it comes to anything specifically for black people, that is what they choose to diversify and be inclusive with. Notice that rarely happens to white people. I may see it when it comes to white men in corporate, but anything else when it comes to music, like pop, like R&B, was diversity and inclusion happened in R&B, and black people didn't complain about that. We also couldn't fight it, and they know why, because we didn't have the power, the influence, or the wealth, and we didn't complain about that. We also didn't do anything when our movies went from black man and black woman to black man and white woman. Remember Save the Last Dance? And then you go up a couple of years, they could completely eliminated black people. They still kept the background, such as black music and like the hardships. And we saw that in the movie with Channing Tatum and that woman, in which it was a dance movie, right? That was clearly written or meant for a black man, but they gave it to a white man, and they saw that black people would still support that. So white people have shown the ability to take from black people, change the layout, and still present it as, well, this is just as good as black people being in it. So I'm just really for creating spaces for black women specifically, because I think that at the end of the day, there is a place for us here in America. We just have to figure out how to work for each other and get that without becoming weapons to our communities from outside communities. We need to gatekeep more. Yep. Black is being used as a catch-all, and that should not be the case. Such utter nonsense. I remember it started with Wesley Snipes in the 90s. Oh, maybe it does go back further. White society knows that black male wants to breed himself out, which is the reason why. Black men, I heard Cynthia say this, and every time something happens, her voice comes back to my head. Black men are the biggest tools to white supremacy. Without them, we wouldn't have as many issues. right? We wouldn't be dealing with identity issues coming from mixed race people because Black men are the biggest creators of them. We wouldn't be dealing with, being harassed and belittled by Black men on social media. Black men are our biggest assailants when it comes to not just physically, but even online. There is always a new TikTok video or YouTube video that's popping up that's saying something derogatory about Black women, and social media allows it. Why do you think the white community loves the Black male and push him in media? Because we had the same value as them. He had the same value as them to oppress the divine femininity, which is us. He didn't have the same value as them, but he did have, patriarchy specifically over Black women, and sometimes they were able to match or beat white women, because they were males. So them being males sometimes carried a higher weight than white women being white. And until we I think Black women haven't done the work that's needed to be done to call out everybody. We don't center ourselves. We don't talk about our issues. I mean, look at Black femicide right now. Black femicide is, one of us are dying a little under every 5 hours a day. And I do videos on that, and some of them barely get to 1,000 views. But if you could be O'Shea Duke Jackson, or you could be one of these other YouTube content creators and saying Black women are evil, Black women are the devils, those videos get 50, sometimes over 100,000 views. Look at the way Black men are weaponizing others against us. We need to come out as a whole to say that we don't like this abuse. Like, we need accountability. I think when Black women flex their power, a lot of things will be realigned. Our identity will be stopped. People will stop trying to be Black, right? When you start holding Black men accountable, when you start limiting who can profit and be a speaker for your community, everything will get in line. But we have to claim our power. Black women haven't done that because I think Black women don't want to lose Black men, and Black women don't want to deal with the possibility of having to date outside their community. How many of us know a Black woman that chose to be a lesbian because she would rather date her own than to be with somebody outside of her community? We really need to start talking about the impact that racism has had on us. Because a lot of times, I don't know if my community, who are specifically in the LGBTQ plus community, is in that community because they were born that way, or they're non-binary. Some of our community members, Black people, are in that community just because, they don't want to have to date outside their race, and they just decided to be with someone of the same gender. And we need to talk about that. Black males are white supremacists and blackface. I do believe a lot of them are. We need to hold the media accountable. Threaten to withhold your vote. I agree. Facts. That's why we'll never create a Black male. I won't be creating one either. Black women are under Black males' control, but it's slowly weakening. Yeah, we don't need that to hurry up. It can't be slow anymore. I feel nothing for Black. They have literally made themselves clear about how they feel about Black women. It's been time to leave them in the dust. Yeah, the reality is this: the Black community, and I know that a lot of Black women were doing what they thought was best, but if Black women had collectively decided to hold Black men accountable, send them to jail, not vote for them, not advocate for them, our communities would have been better off than what they are now. But sadly, the Black woman, has been, a lot of ways in which Black women think that they're being an ally to the community, they're actually being an adversary to the Black community. The way we vote, the way we go about the issues that plague our community, the mindset is just convoluted, and we really need to get back to being a valued-centered community. Like, I value my Blackness. I don't value it to the extent of where I'm going to allow Black men to disrespect me and go unpunished. And that's what Black women do. We often prioritize our Blackness over our gender when it goes hand in hand, and I can no longer tolerate it. Look at Beyonce tour. So many men dressed as women. Yep. Beyonce, a lot of people have accepted her as Black, but that lady is mixed race. She did a commercial saying it. I don't get why people come on my page complaining when I post about her being mixed, but she said she was Creole. Creole is Native, Black, and white, right? That's a mixed race person. Now, she may have specified the races, but she's mixed. And Beyonce is someone who plays around with her identity a lot. Because while she may say, I identify as a white woman, as a Black woman, she does her makeup and make sure that she presents as a white woman to make sure that she's marketable to everybody. And a lot of times Black women don't catch on to that because they're so caught up in liking Beyonce that they don't take a step back to say, wait a minute, what are you showing what are you doing right now in this moment? How many times have we seen her look basically like a white woman? There is times when I'm scrolling, I'm like, white woman, oh, that's Beyonce. The white community never had matriarchy because they don't understand the divine femininity, which is us. The white community has a very strong white matriarchy. In fact, I'm starting to do research on, white men, even though they initiated everything when it comes to slavery and racism, white women helped them along the way. And what we did when we decided to rally up against white men, we basically left Black men unaccountable and white women unaccountable. And when you look at everything today, it's predominantly white women and Black men that's behind a lot of our issues and struggles. White women are making children with Black men and creating biracial children, yet they're taking our identity. When I was working, it was white women who harassed me, racially harassed me, not more so white men. When I go out at night and I'm scared, I'm more so worried from my own than anything else. So when we decided to allow these other two groups, which was white women and Black men, get off the hook, even though they contributed to a lot on the plantation and after slavery, we focus solely on white patriarchy that it hasn't benefited us to the extent that we needed to. We needed to. And that's because their hands wasn't just in the misery pot. When we look back, white women forced Black women to breastfeed their kids. White women took Black women away from their Black kids. White women had a lot of influence during slavery, and they have a lot of influence now. And they do not get held to the level of accountability as white men. We always say patriarchy, but patriarchy could not function without matriarchy. And so I'm tired of leaving Black men and white women out of the equation. And when Black women, and we will do this, begin to center our plight, we will be calling both of them out. The white community Brooke, the only Black women that are under Black are the ones who still choose to align with them. I agree, but Black men have done a pretty good job of stripping us from our identity. So even though we're not under them, they're still in control of our identity. Plus, you see a lot of white women asking about their mixed kids because Black men left them and their child was noticeable and that she can. Yeah. Here's my thing. If I wouldn't I wouldn't be in a relationship with another group of men who had a different culture if I wasn't capable of raising the children, right? Because you have to be able to instill their culture. It's not a problem with you asking someone to help you, but with white women, they want you to do all of the work. Here's the thing. We have the Crown Act that hasn't been passed statewide in the USA. We have a lot of issues in HR. We have a lot of issues in healthcare that white women have a hand in. Why is it that white women want you to do all the work for them, but how are they helping to advance Black women's rights? And it's simple. They don't want to. White women want to be able to control their image while degrading your image. And this is why I've decided that I will no longer support feminism. I won't be supporting Planned Parenthood or anything attached to white women. Black women should have gotten off that plantation, and we should have, on our own, said black women will go about their own reparations package and black men can do their own. That is the way we should have done it. And to be honest, that's what I'm working on behind the scenes. Black women focused on them, and black men should be focused on themselves. It does not make sense for us to be this divided and to be waiting on black men to get their self together. I also believe that black women should have a spot in America of where it's nothing but black women, and we're focused on getting the healing that we need. Because when you let black people off the plantation, they still had all of those issues, including mental health issues. And we have a generations long of being AR'd, being physically attacked. And this stuff is generation long. These issues are generation long, and we haven't done anything about it. Once I got all black males out of my life, everything improved spiritually, mentally, and physically. The black man to me is the, and I'm, oh, okay. I was shocked that it makes sense. Y'all will see very soon. Her mom definitely not black. Our man talked about us, then run off and make videos with them, only to leave. The white woman is about how to take care of her mixed kids, but ex-black women. Exactly. Black women need to step in their power and learn not to try to be, a mammy. We really need to focus on not being a mammy. The mammy is just going to jump in and help whenever, no matter what. I'm not that. If you decide to make kids with somebody who's not of your own race, that's on you, boo. I'll help you a couple times, but I can't be the mammy. Our ancestors didn't even want to be that. Why would I be it? Black women prioritize their own best interests against other groups, triggered that they'll lose their mules. Absolutely. That's why we need to prioritize ourselves, KP. Brooke Bond, is very obvious she uses black women for money. Yep. Black women, where did that come? Black women need to get off the race loyalty. Yep. Mammy and muling train. That has gotten black women nowhere. It has gotten us nowhere. Nobody cares about black femicide. Nobody cares about black women being killed. Less than every one. We're being killed less than every 5 hours a day. Right? They don't care about black femicide. They don't care about black mortality rates. They don't care about the rise in HIV and AIDS cases amongst black women. There's just a lack of concern. And the reason why they don't care is because black women don't care. And black women don't care because we were raised by black women who didn't care. We have to start caring and centering our own plight. Right? And this is why they subconsciously love Lizzo. She's the mammy. Yep. She'll speak out she'll speak out for them, and she'll try to weaponize her blackness against us while saying that we're hateful towards that community. White people love Lizzo because she is safe and will never bring up racism. Yep. Non-black with biracial kids by Tyrone is not black. Women's problems neither are the issues they go through with Tyrone. White women wrote the help and the woman king. Notice the pattern? Yeah, they only want to center blackness and black women when they have a hand in it. They don't want to center it when it's a black space and a black woman led situation or organization. And that needs to stop, because black women do have money to be able to, center our plight and to do our own things. But, we're going to have to work as one to do that. And that's really the problem. Do you think that black women will ever collectively want to center ourselves and hold people accountable? That's really the issue. We have to center our plights and then hold people accountable. And that's going to take having valuing not just our blackness, but also, being women, having plights that come from our ancestors and then tossed on our own back, right? I didn't create a biracial child. I wasn't a part of the group that said biracial people could be black. This was something that just got turned into, as I grew up. right? If black men want to go off and make biracial kids, do that. But they shouldn't be taking on our identity, and they shouldn't be allowed to colonize our space. We are in the womb as above as below. Us black women, our love, justice, and unity. I agree, need to be yourself, but we have too much. And yep, right? Even I had somebody come on my page after a post I made and say, I don't know how to raise biracial. I'm a grandparent of biracial kids, and nobody has told me how to go about this. And that's the problem. Y'all have to do your own research and your own work, right? Because if biracial ain't never been black, then why would you be raising them black? You shouldn't be having them around. You shouldn't be using the N-word. You shouldn't be saying this is how black people. You need to be creating your own culture in your own spaces. And I'm seeing a rise in mixed race people who are doing that on YouTube. And I think that's wonderful. We have to get, black people have gotten so comfortable with dysfunction that we haven't learned how to divorce the dysfunction. Meaning that there has come a time, many times, in which we should have collectively, as small groups, walked away from another group of black people just because we weren't on the same page, right? I think that it's fine for people to be within the LGBTQ plus community. You know, that's your prerogative. Date who you want, marry who you want, but you should not force that upon black people as a whole. And that's essentially what people are trying to do. They're trying to marry blackness with LGBTQ plus and center LGBTQ plus. Once you allow that community to take over your community, you're going to be decentered, which is what Lizzo did on Juneteenth. And it's no longer going to be about being a black person. It's going to be about being an LGBTQ plus member who happens to be black. And that was just really disgusting and distasteful for her to do. She should have just centered black organizations, and she didn't do that. Biracials are not black. They should be raised to identify with all of who they are, not just half of who they are. That's why so many of them have an array of identity issues. I don't even think it's more so identifying with all of them. I think it's identifying with your history. Biracial people's history, particularly those who are not born from a black woman, they mainly had a identity and a culture that didn't even align with black people. In fact, they were told to not date a black person. So they were actually a group of people who were above black people, but didn't have access to all of the privileges that comes with being white. So they couldn't even, most of them didn't come around us. Most of them tried to blend into white society. It doesn't make sense for present day for them to be saying, I'm black, I'm just as black as you. And it's like, well, why are we erasing your history? Why are we ignoring that black mix didn't become black until the past 20 to 30 years, but 200 years prior, you guys had your own culture and identity. When they got rid of the miscegenation laws, the issue that they should have brought up was, hey, you need to make sure that you identify yourself as having a new identity and culture. And they didn't do that. And they didn't do that because at the time in which miscegenation laws were being erased or taken down, you had Black is Beautiful rising and you had affirmative action rising. Well, if black people are getting this, then I'm part black, I'm black, right? That's where that started. Sadly, they've now latched on to, you got people who are like Beyonce who are comfortable being in the midst of actual black women saying I'm a black woman. And it's like, no, you're not. You're a mixed race woman. What's wrong with being mixed race? I think that, we should work on bills. We should work on issues that are centering black women and not mixed race women. That's what I'm doing. These other groups ain't worried about me. Don't stop trying to make me the mammy or the mule for your community. I'm no longer here for it. I'm tired of it. I want to center black femicide. I want to center black issues particularly those that impact Black women, and those who don't care about it don't care about it. But at the same time, do not weaponize someone who looks like me, which is a Lizzo, which is another Black woman. Don't weaponize them against me. Don't have them say, well, me being a Black woman, I can call you hateful because I'm a Black woman and that doesn't make me racist. It doesn't make you racist, but it still makes you hateful, because you're taking the plight of Black women, saying that it's not as a big of an issue as the LGBTQ plus issue, and you're centering themselves in a space that wasn't created for them. I'm all for people having their spaces, but you cannot decenter a space that was created for someone else for yourself, and that needs to stop. What is the Black community? Because from what I know, this community is all about Black male culture. So what are we protecting? It's not our culture. Let it die out. I'm talking more so about my identity. You now have non-Black women saying, well, I date a Black man, so I'm Black. I'm a Black woman. I have mixed kids that I'm gonna say that they Black. So I'm just as much of a Black woman as you. You have all of these non-Black people who are attaching themselves to Blackness, which oftentimes mean white women, because Black male are the biggest interracial daters. They're attaching themselves to the community and our identity to say that the only difference between to say that there is no difference between you and I. And they're using a definition. They're using, definitions that are completely idiotic, right? I can work at a predominantly white company. That doesn't make me white. I can date a white man. That doesn't make me white. I can have mixed race children with a white man. That doesn't make me white. All of these ways in which they're redefining, like, this is literally colonizing. The ability to colonize is the ability to redefine something or someone's purpose. And that is what these other communities and other people are doing. They're colonizing Blackness. They're colonizing Black identity to redefine what it is. Think about what they're doing to racism that impacts Black people. They're redefining our plight to say, well, if this person had not been a gay man, this wouldn't have a gay Black man. No, that happened because he was Black, not because he was gay. And now that I know the way in which colonizing works, I'm seeing the way in which it is going to be very dangerous for Black people if we don't begin to call out this mess. Black men leaving in droves for other races give Black women their identity because we won't be what did it say? Well, we won't be associated with the toxic. I agree. In fact, I was thinking that because I think it's going to be so hard for us to say who's Black and who's not, I was thinking about reiterating the rule from back in the day that said if you were born from a Black woman, then you're Black. Because we're not interracial dating as much, then this is going to slow down but I identify as. Oh, but is your mother white? Okay, then you're not Black. That's what happened to Rachel Dolezal. She has kids that have the skin complexion of Tariq Nasheed, of Lizzo, and they're on their birth certificate. It says white because it says that you are the identity of your mother. And I think we should go back to that if we cannot get people to claim who they really are. People lie about their identity. That's what I'm coming to find out. A lot of people lie about their racial identity. Like, yeah, you can't tell, can you? See, I am Black. No, you're actually a mixed race person. But because your parents, who are both mixed, didn't say that I'm mixed, you want to walk around saying, no, you can't tell that I'm Black, huh? No, I could tell. And y'all lie about your identity. We need to gatekeep to control our own narrative spaces, etc. But Black women don't understand this. If we call ourselves something else, what would they do? I'm not leaving my identity. I'll evict everybody who's not a Black woman before I leave my identity. That's like leaving your house. Your identity is your 40 acres and the mule to you. And I'm not leaving my identity. Non-black women want the black woman Eve gene so bad. They do. You are what your mother is. Most of these biracials are white. They come across as white. I don't even feel a connection to them when I sit amongst them. I don't bring it up because for the most part I don't care. But I don't feel a connection to them. They know that they live. Most cities that they are in are for white people, and they're completely comfortable with that. But somehow they want to hold on and keep their foot in the black door because they think that just in case it don't work out over here, I want to make sure I have another space. I'm done with that. Black men gonna look real funny preaching black unity and profiting from woke culture with Becky. Yeah, they are. And guess what? That's on them. I've detached myself from black men because collectively, black men have detached themselves from the black community. And I'm seeing that the way in which the community is even the community runs, or the way they go amongst each other, black men grow up in a community that tells them to be focused on bettering themselves. I look at I reread the posts that I make on my YouTube page, and I come to realize that black men have a thought process when it comes to what they want when they're not struggling and what they'll accept when they are struggling. Black women are the struggle women. And when they get in their better life and they making money, they start talking about, well, I need to date higher up. So black women were dating down. That's when they want to date the biracials. That's when they want to date the preference, the exoticals. What does that say about black women? And why do black women tolerate this? Why do black women still take up for them, advocate for them, support them? This is nonsense. Most biracials are Becky's kids. Absolutely. Most biracial kids belong to white women. I was just looking at a video posted by another YouTuber yesterday, and this woman did braids, but she thought that because she had a black man and biracial kids that she gave the black identity. How can you white women racism leak out every time they speak? Well, I gave them the black identity. How can you give your biracial daughters the black identity? Did black women tell you could do that? But they believe that they can decide what they can do with your culture simply by dating a black man. So essentially, white women practice misogyny in our communities. Something that really troubles me is that white women have done a lot of work to exercise and get rid of the misogyny and the sexism within their own community. But those same women will come over to your community and let the black man and tell the black man that it's perfectly acceptable to have a misogynistic and sexist mindset when it comes to you. Have you noticed that? White women don't care about black men being misogynistic and sexist like Kanye West was. They only care about it from black men when they turn it onto them. And black women really need to stop supporting black men and white women. Black women are being murked for dating now. Yep, absolutely. Most of my black femicide stories is a black woman who was on the up and up, or she was already doing her thing and she was taken out by black men. Black men practice how do you pronounce that? Sharia law, where they'll take out themselves and you, or they'll take out themselves. Think about this. Black men can kill black women and get out within 15 to 20 years and be able to kill again. And there have been several cases of them doing that. And it's all because black women fought for the laws to be changed for black men. Right? Black women are constantly at the forefront of what do you call that? Prison to pipeline movement. Even though now I see the prison to pipeline movement starts with when fathers are not in the household. The prison to pipeline movement starts when people are not holding their kids accountable, and they allow them to go outside and do whatever they want. The prison to pipeline movement starts when people are not seeing that kids have chosen to live a life outside of violence and gangbanging. That's when the prison to pipeline movement starts. But nobody wants to talk about that. The only time they want to talk about the prison to pipeline movement is when it comes to white male patriarchy, and I'm done with it. People need to raise their kids, and we didn't have this prison to pipeline movement as much back in the day as we do now. The problem today is I think white men have been more willing to come to the table and fix some of the issues within our communities that they create. The problem is that black men don't want to. The black community don't want to do what's needed to be done to correct the actions of the youth, particularly those of black men and black boys. And so we're going to always be at this point until we do something, because the community needs to have a response. You ever notice black men create none of these organizations? Black women are power only. Yep, it's always black women. Black men have organizations. I mean, look at Al Sharpton. Look at Benjamin Crump. Look at Lee Merritt. But their fight is only against white men who they assume has taken out a black man for no reason. Yes, I agree. Black men have attached from the black community. They call each other Ray Ray and Blake. Everything on them a Ray Ray. Yeah, I agree. They've completely detached themselves from the community. And black women have to detach themselves from the community. You can't be in love with a community that doesn't love you back. Black men don't love your blackness. Black men don't love you because you're a woman. It is simply what you can do for them. And you also know who has that mindset? White supremacists. Think about the company you work for. The moment you can no longer supply them with the skills and talent that you said that you would when you interviewed for that job and got the position, they let you go. They let you go. Because you can't be in a space that's not centered around you and not be putting forth any work or effort. They will let you go. And being that I had to sue a company for doing me that way, and it wasn't because I stopped putting forth the effort, but I complained of racism. Being how I saw that I was the number one agent in that company, and they let me go the way that I did. And now seeing how black men utilize and let black women go, aka murder them, I no longer have attachment to black men, and I don't have attachment to the black community. I am simply here to center black women. That is all I care about, black women and black children. The moment your 9, 10, 13-year-old black son show me that he wants to be the Pookie and Ray Rays that he see amongst him, I no longer have a love or a care for him either. It is going to take black women seeing the impact that black men and black boys are having on the community, in which they will begin to leave their mindset of protecting them away. Black women have to accept the fact that we need the legal system. And there are a lot of black men who should have been put away a long time ago, and we would have seen communities thriving by now if we didn't intervene. But sadly, we often do, and it takes a toll on the community. Black men are slow. Look at the NBA; they are all beige. Thanks to them, they erased themselves, and they were complaining about it. Mature black female podcaster, they complained about it. I did a video on it. They complained and they said it was black women's fault because we got attitudes and bodies that they don't want to mate with. We the reason why they have to date outside their race, and they no longer seeing themselves. Well, stop complaining. Like, I realize that black men use black women as a scapegoat for everything, and that needs to stop as well. Nobody has time for that. If black women are so bad, don't ask us to rally for you. Don't ask us to support you. Don't ask me for nothing. Do everything on your own. In fact, how do we? I just really want to create a community centered around Black women and Black women issues, and there be little to none Black men, right? And I don't think Black women will like that, but it is what it is. Yeah, Black woman centered spaces. Why can't we have a space? Other groups have spaces for their women, but they complain against us when we want our own space. And they do that because they know that Black women they want to keep us at the forefront of their issues, but they want us to disappear whenever we decide to leave their issues. Whenever we decide to descend from them, they want us to leave, and that needs to stop. Well, you guys, I want to thank you for tuning in. I appreciate all the commentary. Get in the comment section. Tell me if you have some questions or you thought about something that you forgot, and I'll definitely respond. Until then, y'all have a good rest of y'all day, and be safe out there, Black women.